Hello again and welcome to the Advanced Setup and Settings Training video series. In this video we're going to add team members. Now there are some settings that you're going to want to do when you add team members to make sure that they do show up, their calls show up here inside of the report here on the dashboard. And so we're going to cover that as well inside this video. So first thing you'll do to add a team member is you're going to go into Profile and Preferences, and you're going to select Team. If you have members already available on your package, then you should have no issues just adding an additional user. But if you don't have any available users, then you will have to first check out, purchase either a single or multiple user pack, and then you'll be able to add more users to your account. So we're just going to go ahead and add a sample user. Now all that's required is first name, last name, email, and password. You don't have to have a phone number set up for them inside of the system or having their address. None of these things are required. So once you've entered in those details, then down here you'll see this option. You can, if you have a permissions library already set up to where you want to apply certain permissions to that user, you can do that. And then also you have the option to purchase a phone number, a personal phone number for them when you're creating their account. So if you select this option, you can put in the area code for the number that you'd like to purchase, and then when it sets up their account, it'll purchase that number. You could also go in and do that in step 2. Now, once you have created the team member, here over on the right under permissions, you'll have the ability, if you'd like, to come in and change any of the permissions that they have access to. So these permissions are automatically set up to give them access to all of the different areas of the system, but if you'd like to create a permission library for them so that they would only have access to certain areas, you could come in here and create that library and then turn off certain things that you don't want them to have viewed or access to view inside of their system. So once you've done that, then you can apply that to their account. So we've created that library. And if I go to team and this user, I now can assign that permission library and keep Mary from seeing those pages that I just turned off inside of her account. Now, aside from the pages, you also have the ability to control other permissions in here. For example, which fields they have access to, which groups and tags that they have access to. Keep in mind, if you do assign the tags permission in this area, that it is going to modify the type of tag that your tag is. So this is advisable that you skip this. Do not assign tags in this way, because by default tags have permission for all users to be able to view these leads, but if you change the tag type for one user, then it's going to change it to a permission-based tag for all users, which might cause an issue with other users being able to see your tags. Next is phones. If you have a specific phone number that you'd like to have that user to have access to, you can select which numbers that they would have access to. And when you give them access to a number, that gives them access to the text messages and the voicemails and missed calls that come through on that number. So if you want them to have access to those things, then you must have given them access to it by coming in here and selecting that. You can also control the notes that a team will have access to, a team member will have access to. So for example, if you don't want them to have access to the manager's notes, you can turn those off, or if you'd like, if you have certain team members that they shouldn't be able to see the notes for, maybe that are in some other department where those notes are private, you can also hide those messages as well. Same thing with conversations. This feature also would allow you to hide specific conversations from certain team members, but then also you have the option to hide certain time frames of conversations. This is actually handy if you're reassigning leads and you don't want the other members to see what messages the other member had said on those leads. And that I'll leave your mind up to imagination on how that could be used. And then finally is the payroll. If you're using the payroll feature, that needs to be enabled, and then you can go in here to the payroll setting to make those adjustments, but we will be going into that more in another video. Now over here on the right hand side of the team member's name, there's also a list of additional features that you'll have access to here. We're going to go through those. So the login as member will allow you to log in as this member. So if I click on this, and now you can see I'm logged in as that specific member. And then in order to go back to my manager account, I would select here. Now I'm going to go back into the team settings area, so we'll continue. All right, so we've talked about logging in as the member. Here you can either view or edit the member's information if you wanted to go into their profile and do that. Verify phone. So this is giving you the ability to force verify a phone number. If you are verifying phones, you can select a specific schedule for a user that they can only log in during these times. This is very handy if you have users that are overseas and you want to make sure they don't accidentally log in too early and start making calls or stay too late. You can make sure that they won't be able to do that, as well as block off certain holidays and days of the week that they won't have access to the system. You can send them their password reset. You can set up SIP settings, which we'll talk about in another video. Here they can set up their emergency address, which is only necessary if they're using SIP. If they have an emergency and they use the SIP, that's what that's for. We'll cover that again in a SIP video. Sending the mobile link manager to their mobile phone will allow them to be able to access the system from their mobile phone, their leads, their text messages that come in and that sort of thing. So if you click this, you can send them a text message and then it will allow them to click the link to verify and they'll be able to log in to the system from their mobile device. Here you can preset the passcode. So the mobile link manager does require a passcode for them to have to be able to log in, and you can preset a passcode for them as well. So that way they would use that specific passcode and you can regenerate or remove that if they ever leave, so they won't have access to those leads. Cloning account would allow you to, when you create a new member, create another member that is a duplicate of that member with all of the same settings. and then assigning credits gives you the ability, if you're using credits inside of the system for making calls and sending texts and you don't want a user to go over a certain number of credits, you can assign a certain number of credits for that user. In order to do that, you would have to make it active, and then once you make it active, then you can say how many credits that they have that would be allowed to use, and then if they run out of credits, then their system will stop until the manager comes back in and adds credits. And then finally here, the IP addresses will show you anybody or the user's IP addresses that's logged in to those areas. So this is the main settings inside of the team member area. Now there is one more thing that's very important for you to do if you're bringing in team members and they're going to be making phone calls inside the system, and that is that you want to make sure you create a team. So we'll call this team A, and then you'll assign the members to that team that should be part of that team. So once you've created the team, then you can add the members that are a part of that team, and then whenever they make phone calls, their data will show up here inside of the dialer dashboard view. So that concludes the team settings view, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you.